Welcome to the Cristal Stallingborough site. We're rightly proud of our heritage and have a manufacturing timeline here at Stallingborough dating back to the 1950s. With almost 4,000 employees on 5 continents, Cristal is the second largest titanium dioxide producer in the world, the largest producer of merchant titanium chemicals, and the leading manufacturer of specialty titanium products. Cristal has offices and operations in Europe, the Middle East, Australia, North America and Latin America. Safety on a site such as this is the most important aspect of our work. And because of this, we ask you to take part in a short interactive induction, which upon successful completion will give you an insight into the site procedures and policies. After watching this video, there's a short questionnaire to complete. If you're struggling with anything, then speak to your site induction facilitator, who will be able to help. In the event of an emergency, there are several types of alarms that will be sounded across the site, and it's important that you're able to recognise what they mean. The major emergency alarm is a wailing siren that sounds like this. It's the signal to go to a refuge area immediately. This is tested each Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. The incident alarm is a series of rapid pips on the tannoy system. This alarm may sound in conjunction with one of the other alarms and will be followed by a tannoy message. This alarm is used for a minor incident where only localised plant areas are affected. A warning will be given via a tannoy message and flashing warning lights will be visible for the duration of the incident. A continuous siren warns you of a fire in a process plant. You should leave the area by the safest nearest exit and go to the fire assembly point immediately. You might hear a local fire bell within buildings. The bell will sound like this. The Research and Development Centre have their own system, and this sounds like. If you hear either of these alarms, then leave the building by the safest nearest exit and report immediately to your fire assembly point. If you hear the major emergency alarm, go immediately to the nearest refuge area, observing the wind direction. Remember, it's safer to go across wind rather than downwind. Ensure you have your respirator with you, or if required, collect one en route. Alternatively, stocks are held at each refuge area. Once you arrive at the refuge area, swipe your card into the reader. If you have any difficulty doing this, report to the marshal. If there's no one at the refuge area location, follow the instructions laid out on the notice. Take a look at your induction booklet to familiarise yourself with the location of all refuge areas, especially in the area where you are going to be working. There are signs like these at each refuge area location. These will be illuminated during the hours of darkness. In the event of a fire, there are some basic rules to remember. On hearing the local fire alarm for your area, stop what you're doing and evacuate by the nearest safe exit. If there's time and no immediate danger, shut any open doors or windows. You then need to report to your nearest fire assembly point. These are shown on the map in your induction booklet. Alternatively, if you discover a fire, then raise the alarm and report this by dialing 3333 from any site telephone. This will contact the gatehouse and a security officer will explain the procedure to follow. The Cristal Site at Stallingborough is a top-tier coma facility, which means the business must take all necessary measures to prevent major accidents involving dangerous substances and limit the consequences to people and the environment of any major accidents which do occur. Since this is a coma site, there are strict regulations about the PPE that must be worn. If you're on the river side of the red line, you must wear the basic PPE. The basic PPE will include a safety helmet, safety glasses, and you should also be carrying gloves and a respirator. You're also required to wear sensible shoes. Contractors and anyone working in the plant areas will need to wear additional PPE. Additional PPE may include goggles, a CO monitor, hearing protection, overalls, safety shoes or boots. It is a site requirement that everybody understands how to use the emergency escape respirator. The following demonstration will show how this should be used in the unlikely case of an emergency. Remove the unit from the holdall and place the mouthpiece in your mouth. Use the clip provided to secure your nose, so you're only breathing through your mouth. It's important you know how to use the respirator properly, as if there is an incident, it could save your life. At no point should you use the respirator for any other means than for safe muster to a refuge area during an incident. Cristal places a high importance on traffic safety, and although not everyone will need to drive a vehicle, you'll all need to walk from place to place, so we'll be covering pedestrian issues too. Visitors and contractors should park their vehicles in designated car parks and report to the relevant gatehouse. The site follows similar signage to those used on public highways, so many of them will be familiar to you. They must be observed at all times, including the directional arrows, as there are one-way road systems in place. There's a mandatory 10 miles per hour speed limit for all vehicles, and Cristal conduct regular random speed checks throughout the site, so it's important you observe the limits at all times. Anyone found to be exceeding 20 miles per hour will receive an immediate ban from driving anywhere on site for a period of 28 days, and their line supervisor will be contacted. The only exception to this rule is for drivers of emergency vehicles. There is restricted site access for private cars and unmarked vehicles. However, there might be times when limited site access is needed. If you're dropping off tools or materials on site, for instance, in which case you'll be issued with a temporary pass. Security will monitor this to ensure your vehicle leaves the site when expected. It's important your vehicle leaves by the time stated on your pass, since if it's found on site after this time, it could result in any future requests for temporary access being refused. There are numerous pedestrian crossings on the Stallingborough site. There are also designated walkways which segregate people from vehicles and minimise the risk of accidents. You must ensure you use these as they identify the safest routes. Always maintain an awareness of traffic when walking about. This is an industrial site, and there will be large vehicles, forklift trucks and other large items of plant operating on a continual basis. Workplace road safety is important, so keep this in mind when moving around the site and keep you and your colleagues safe. Please make sure you familiarise yourself with the signs and speed limits so you're not the one to have to explain why you can't drive any vehicles here. Congratulations, you've reached the end of this induction. As we said right at the beginning, Cristal place a high importance on the health and safety of anyone visiting or working at the Stallingborough site. If you think anyone is being placed in jeopardy or the environment is at risk through any work at the site, then you have the authority and obligation to stop the job. You're now required to complete a short questionnaire, which will conclude this induction. It's important you answer all the questions correctly, as any incorrect answers will result in you needing to sit through this induction again. The final step is to report back to the site induction facilitator. You'll be issued with your induction booklet, swipe and induction cards. We hope you have a safe and productive stay whilst at the Cristal site.